start with this. So, first of all, who must file Form 1040? So, Form 1040 has to be filed by all the US citizens and residents, first of all. So, mainly those who are residing in US, it doesn't mean that only US citizens, but resident aliens also. Now, what do you mean by resident alien? So, there is a term known as resident alien. So resident alien means resident means you are residing in the US. So if you are fulfilling the criteria of residential status in US, then you will be considered as a resident. Alien means you're not the citizen of US. You are a citizen of any other country other than the US. So resident alien means you are the citizen of any other country but residing in US. So the criteria that needs to be met to become the resident or bona fide resident of US. So it depends on visa status. So if you are on H-1B visa, if you have a green card, so green card is equivalent to citizen, H-1B visa, L-1 visa, O-1 visa. So all of these visa holders will be called as a resident of the US if they are staying in US for 183 days or more in current year or in past 3 years. If you are staying for more than 183 days, then you will consider as a resident. Obviously, this is a very brief introduction of resident status. It has many more points that you need to keep in mind before knowing the residential status. Okay, so very briefly, 183 days, there is a proportion that you have to take for each of the year in past 3 years to calculate this 183 days. However, if in the current year you are staying for 183 days, then of course you are the resident of the US, right? However, if you are on F1 visa or J1 visa, which is for student or teachers, in that case, the residential status you will get after you resided in US for more than 5 years, not 183 days. So for 5 years, you will be considered as non-resident in US. So keep this in mind that it depends on visa status, whether you are a resident of US or not, right? So once we understand that whether the person or individual is US citizen or US resident, if that person is US citizen and residence, one thing he or she may have to file Form 1040. Now, what are the criteria which are required for these US citizens and residents to file Form 1040? First criteria, which is applicable to most of the people, is if the gross income is more than standard deduction. Now, we will discuss about standard deduction later in stage. We have different filing statuses and everything that we will study in later sections, later classes. But just keep in mind that if your gross income is more than standard deduction, so obviously standard deduction is something like the deduction available on your income. So obviously if your income is not more than deduction, then you have no tax liability. Hence you are not liable to file Form 1040. However, if your income is more than standard deduction, then it will be considered as that you have certain amount of income on which tax can be calculated, and hence you may have to file Form 1040. There is one exception to standard deduction is that there is one filing status, we call it as MFS or married filing separately. So people who are married, but they have an option to file together or separately. So if you are taking the option to file separately, both the spouse, then if your gross income is more than $5, then also you are liable to file Form 1040. Then there is no standard deduction rule. In that case, the rule is even if you are getting more than $5 of income, then you are liable to file Form 1040. Okay. So it's just to demotivate to go for married filing separately. Then, so these are the most of the people. Then there might be a situation where these US residents have children or other dependents on which they are taking the credit. Now, those children and other dependent may have to file their own separate Form 1040 if these conditions are met. Okay. Now, what are these decisions? Let's discuss these in detail. So, if we see, let me change the pen color. So, if the dependent is single dependent, so in that case, if the dependent is single dependent, age is less than 65, and the person is not blind. So, normal person who is not senior, who is not blind, who is single. In such case, if unearned income, so any of these three criteria is met by that particular dependent, then that dependent has to file Form 1040. Now, one of the thing is unearned income. If unearned income is more than 1250. Now, what is the difference between unearned income and earned income? Let me take to the workings. So, earned income is generally what you actually earn while you are working, like salaries or business income, where you go and work, physically work and earn. Unearned income, on the other hand, is a passive income, you can say. Passive income or portfolio income. So this becomes ordinary income. Earned income is ordinary income. And unearned income is passive or portfolio income. Now, what do you mean by passive income and portfolio income? Passive income means sitting income. We call it as sitting income. You are earning while sitting. You are not working but still earning, like on rental basis, royalties, right? Or maybe a part-time owner, part-time shareholder. Okay. Portfolio income, on other hand, is income from investments. So if you have invested somewhere and you're earning, then it becomes a portfolio income like interest and dividends. So if the dependent has interest, dividend, rental income, royalty income, or any passive income for more than $1,250, and that person is single, and that person is not blind, and that person is less than 65 years of age, then that person is liable to file Form 1040 separately. Okay. And if the person is blind or more than 65, either of the case, either this or this, then we have 3100 of unearned income. If more than 3100 is the limit. Similarly, if the person is both senior citizen plus blind, then 4950 for a single dependent, right? Similarly, if the person is having earned income, that means wages or business income of more than so this 13,850 is the standard deduction, basically. So if the earned income is more than standard deduction, then you have to file. The dependent obviously have to file the return. Or if the total income or the gross income, including unearned income and earned income, if that total gross income is more than larger of this 1250 or 13,450 plus 400, earned income